Understand that I'm about to challenge a lot of people's understandings right now, but I'm going to also present you with the evidence, not just simplified in this video, but I'll also be uploading some more in depth, right? So what we're going to first address is this quantum entanglement nonsense. This is used simply to create ignorance so that way people who have control over groups of people can continue to run their businesses using their corruption. It's just nonsense. And here's how you know, right? Understand the next time somebody starts to present this whole quantum entanglement thing to you, ask them how the sensor works. Because for a sensor to work, it has to be able to acquisition some sort of energy change, right? Whether or not it be physical, whether or not it be heat, which is definitely physical, or electricity, it has to do some sort of energy transfer. So now what they're assuming when you look at it that it decays, this is literally not only breaking conservation of information, it's breaking conservation of energy. This is to assume that by simply looking over at something, you are capable of destroying energy and information instantaneously. All right? So ask them how that happens. Also, ask them how they were even able to predict that. How did you know, right, that it was over there? Understand that when these equations, when these statements were brought to light, many scientists, right, like Einstein and even the person who did this quantum, they tried their best to show how the way in which their equations were being used in these situations were nonsense. This is where they would make jokes, right? So they would say things like spooky action at a distance, or when the guy who made quantum mechanics wanted to like take it back, right? Like he got the Nobel Prize for it. But he basically used the equation to show that based on what they're saying, their assumptions, that you could have this crazy superposition thing, right? And instead of people looking and go, oh yeah, that is nuts, they went, oh, look at that, superposition. They just continue to spread the ignorance. So what's the next thing that's really been bothering me? This whole heat death of the universe and nonsense. This is to like create this, I don't even want to get into the corruption that it creates, but just understand that when they say that the second law of thermodynamics shows that entropy increases, this is just them using words. If you look at the actual equation, the equation doesn't say increases, it just says that entropy is always going to be greater than or equal to. Why it says greater than or equal to? Because you have to use these equations to actually produce tools, right? And if you were to make a measurement on something and you were to actually find a situation where the entropy decreased, you would realize right away that you had missed something in your experiment. There's something that you didn't consider. The fact that it's equal to or greater than is because you can never acquisition a perfect value, right? If someone was to say it's equal to 0, I could then come back behind them and go, oh no, it's technically based on your meter's resolution, 0.000001, right? Or 0.2 or whatever. Just like if I told you to drive a car at 50 miles an hour for a minute and I'd give you $1 billion, I could always just show up and go, it wasn't 50 miles an hour. It was 50.000001 or 49, or it wasn't exactly a minute. It was 60.00000001 second. You understand? Because there's always going to be that extra 1 to the resolution. You're never going to be able to acquisition 0. And so the equation is set up literally saying that entropy is always going to be greater than or equal to, so that way people who are producing the products, the things that we use, the engineers, right, that are developing the tools that we use every day, the cars, the planes, the boats, the trains, these are the people who understand how these things work. For whatever reason, everyone likes to decide that engineers don't really get the ability to talk, right? The most public, the most well-known engineer is Elon Musk, and he speaks out as much as he can with what he has. But understand, when a physicist or a scientist or someone comes and they start talking to you about information, about tests and all this stuff, they don't really know. All of it is numbers and theories. And when they use these tools to try and acquisition data, understand that if they don't understand how the tool works, then they don't understand the information it's acquisitioning or how to interpret it, right? Just something as simple as a camera, I'll demonstrate, right? How myself as an engineer, looking up at the sky, is able to use my phone to acquisition the sky in a way you've never seen before. Understand all the red, the blues, the teals, the bird, all the colors that are being filtered out because of our limited resolution. Astronomers don't necessarily know how a camera works to the extent that an engineer does. So what do? They look around with their eyes, they see some stars, aiming at the light, and then they just focus on that. Understand that like most tools aren't used to just basically add on to an existing capability. Most tools are used to give you a completely new one, right? Like planes. A screwdriver doesn't help you pick up things or it helps you screw things. You never use your hands for that. just like a hammer, just like, the only thing you could even think about is maybe like a car. When you take the tool, right, the first thing I thought to myself was, based on what I understand, I don't want to sit there and look at things I can already see. Oh, look, here's more resolution on something I already see. Let me see it better. No, let me look for things I can't see. And all right away, just instantly, the most beautiful pictures I ever saw. You're going to see them as soon as I get them out. But, I mean, just simple things that are just corrupt as hell. Like the Hadron Particle Accelerator. Like that whole thing is just literally them pumping energy into the garbage. They're paying people to do nothing. It's corrupt as hell. You know how? Because there's this thing called Nyquist frequency. It's the minimum sample rate required in order to acquisition data without aliasing it. Once data is aliased, there is no usable information. You cannot extract anything out of it. It's garbage, right? And so if something is going at 99.9% the speed of light, and nothing's faster than light, then what the hell are they using that's 2 times faster than basically the speed of light? Understand that when they're pumping all this energy into this small radius, there's nothing that they have that's even capable of acquisitioning that speed, let alone that size. They're putting all this energy into a point that's like times 10 to the negative 50 meters. And for them to even be able to see it based on their design, they need it like times 10 to the negative 19. Understand that if you just do rough calculations, that's like the amount of energy production in the whole world, more than the whole world. My whole body, right? For instance, I weigh like 70, 80 kilograms, somewhere between there. If you had 100 kilograms worth of mass, and you compress that down into the short radius to create a black hole, that black hole would decay in about 1 nanosecond, right? 1 nanosecond times 10 to the negative 9 seconds, which means that you'd have to sample it. That's crazy, right? Because they're not sending anything close to that amount of mass. They're sending protons at each other. They could be creating black holes all day, and they would never know. They're like, ah, man, we're going to see if we can get a black hole. They have no idea that they haven't already done this bunches of times, because it would just decay instantly. Like, they would never be able to detect it. And if they wanted to pump energy into a smaller area, you could just look at what people are already doing, right? Grab yourself some mirrors. Take the sunlight and aim it at a focal point. Get yourself a magnifying glass, like how kids used to burn ants. Just get a big one, all right? Take all that energy, put it down into a focal point, and if you want more energy in a smaller radius, put another magnifying glass under it. And another. You want more? Get another light. Instead, they're like, let's build lasers. Let's just take all of our time and energy to make a device that can emit light, right? And it's like all this light everywhere, but it's like, no. We're not going to use all this abundant light that's coming in. We're just going to take all of the resources we have here, all of our oil, all of our, all of the energy that we need for our lights, for our food, for our gas. And we're going to take that energy and we're going to put it into this machine that's literally making hocus pocus, like, right? It might as well just be spitting out like invisible, like it's just messed up. Understand something simple like an MRI. I'm not even going to get into that. There's so much corruption, man. This video lasts forever. But yeah, I hit on a few topics here. If anyone has anything to say, bring the numbers and ask me for any amount of proof, right? If you're a real scientist, a real engineer, you have some requirements, something that you'd look at and say, for me to accept what you're saying, Anthony, I would need to see this, that, or this or that or whatever, right? Bring that list. I guarantee you I'll bring more than that, right? Because I'm yet to see anything and I have tons of data, right? That's it. Bring your science friends, right? I'm so sick of people telling me, oh, you're not a scientist. Why am I not a scientist? Why can't I be a scientist? Just because I'm an engineer and they say engineers aren't scientists, is it mutually exclusive? I'm sorry, I thought I knew a lot about like random stuff, right? I seem to be teaching scientists about science, and let alone, and yet all these laymen. I've never heard a scientist tell me I wasn't a scientist. It's always some layman. So bring your scientist friends, bring whoever you think is educated, and hopefully, hey, maybe I'm wrong. That's awesome. I would love to know, right? I'm not one of those people that just want to remain in my little cloud of ignorance. If I'm wrong, prove it, and prove it quick, so I don't look like a fool for any longer, and so I can spread more, of the valuable information, not this corrupt nonsense, right? I'm here to change things. I don't have time to live in a world like what's been left behind here, right? You got to help me do it. So please like, share, and subscribe so we can make this world a better place.